Every winter, Korea tends to get a lot of pollution, as the cold air that comes from the west traps pollutants down lower. And also more fuels are burned to heat homes. This is one of the most common complaints about living here from foreigners that come from less polluted places. And I too wish we didn't have to worry about pollution, but it's an unavoidable part of life in Korea. Some people stay indoors when it's bad, filtering the air in their homes. I used to look at the pollution a lot, canceling plans to ski when it got bad. But to be honest, this affected my mental health quite a bit, feeling out of control. So nowadays, I just completely ignore it all, and pretend that the pollution doesn't exist. This might seem a bit reckless to some, but it's helped my mental health quite a bit, resulting in a lot more days up in the mountains, which luckily tend to be better overall. I'm not sure how many people that watch these videos are interested in skiing, but for those who are, I've now skied every resort that's a part of the X5 Seasons Pass, which allows access to 5 different mountains here: High1, Yongpyong, Welli Hilli Park, Elysian Gangchon, and Jisan. Elysian and Jisan are nothing special to be honest, but they are both somewhat close to Seoul, which is nice. And I was surprised to see a little park at Elysian to play around on that's perfect for those who want to learn jumps. It was also a nice place for me to get my ankle back in business from spraining it about 8 weeks prior. I had a better time than expected at Elysian, with the runs being just long enough where you don't feel like you're spending most of your time riding the lifts like it feels at Jisan. Also, my ankle was feeling pretty good, and just good enough to handle a little bit of jumps and rails, which luckily there was a resort nearby with the perfect setup for that. I was on my way to Welli Hilli Park, a more freestyle-focused mountain located in Hwangseong-gun, the county best known for its hanwoo, or Korean beef, which is really tasty, but a bit pricey, and usually you have to order at least 2 servings, so I wouldn't get the chance to try it out on this trip. When I arrived at the hill, I decided to try out their food court instead, which is a bit limited for options, so I tried out the jjajangmyeon and kummandu, black bean sauce noodles and fried dumplings, which are pretty much just the instant versions, a bit less classy than hanwoo. A warning popped up on my phone saying it was supposed to reach minus 20 Celsius that night, so it'd be a great opportunity to see how my van would handle it, which has a diesel heater for those who are wondering. But the heater creates a lot of dry air, so I bought a little humidifier which has been helping things out a lot, and want to recommend it to others who also have camper vans. I could really feel the cold air coming right through the doors as I watched Hukbaek Yorisa, or Culinary Class Wars, which I thought was pretty entertaining. It was minus 12 already before falling asleep, and luckily for me, I keep my 4 Seasons sleeping bag packed in the van, so I survived the cold night. Welli Hilli is one of those mountains that doesn't do anything excellent, but does everything pretty well. I think it's the perfect hill for beginners to learn on, with really wide, flat, groomed runs, and a bit less people than more popular resorts like Yongpyong. For more advanced riders, the slopes are pretty decent, but they're on the shorter side, so you don't get much time to carve around. You can see that almost every run in Korea is fenced off on the sides, obviously for safety reasons, but it also prevents creativity to jump around on the side. Luckily, Welli Hilli has a little snake run that goes down the back of the mountain called S1, without fences for a lot of it. allowing me to channel my inner child again as well. But the real reason I came here was for the terrain park, which looks absolutely phenomenal. The jumps are shaped really nicely, with the landings at a similar height, reducing the impact. Back in the day, I probably would have wanted to go straight for them, and I don't want to make too many excuses because of my age, but I'm still rehabbing my ankle, so I decided I'd take things a bit easy in the beginner park this day, which although it's pretty small, it didn't feel like that, and it was one of the most fun days I've had on my skis in a while. I thought it'd be a good idea to show all 5 mountains included in the X5 Pass, so I returned to Yongpyong the next week, Korea's largest mountain that's arguably the most popular. Yongpyong is set up spread out mostly horizontally, so it's hard to ski a variety of runs as it takes a while to traverse over from left to right. I went to the top of Parangsang by cable car, which is quite high up, and home to the most difficult runs in all of Korea. Surprise? More groomers. The runs are steep, but it always seems icy up there, and I keep my edges dull intentionally for rails and freestyle, so it feels like I'm constantly just waiting to slip out and fall on the ice. On top of the common icy snow conditions, Yongpyong is usually the busiest mountain in the Gangwon-do region, where the majority of the ski hills are here. I think it's a fun place to go for technical riders who enjoy carving on groomers, and for families because of all the facilities. But for me, this is probably the last time I'll go there for quite some time. And I'd recommend High1 or Muju as my favorites for actual riding, and then Phoenix Park or Welli Hilli Park for freestyle. I keep ending up on the East Coast these days traveling in my van, from surfing in the summer, and now skiing in the winter. It's honestly a great problem to have, as it's one of the most beautiful areas here, although I would like to show off some other areas in the future. I chose the next city down the coast that I haven't shown yet called Donghae, a city of about 90,000 people, and one of the last bigger cities up north before heading into the unpopulated regions of the East Coast. I decided to drive along the coast and stop at whatever was interesting, and ended up at a temple called Deungmyeong Nakgasa, which roughly means the place where the light of Avalokitesvara shines, who's the goddess of compassion in Mahayana Buddhism. Now that I've been studying Buddhism and meditating for a little bit, I feel more grateful for all the temples I have access to here in Korea. It almost feels like they're there as reminders to continue following my path of inner peace. And although I'm still a bit reckless and make a ton of mistakes in life, they give me guidance to push forward and keep growing. I made it to a place called Jeongdongjin, home to the closest train station to a beach in the entire world, literally running right along it. I remember biking past there about 5 years ago, amazed at this massive cruise ship hotel built on the side of the mountain called the Sun Cruise Resort, as it's one of the most famous spots on Korea's east coast to watch the sunrise. It's quite a beautiful area, a tourist spot built mainly for Koreans. So I just got up to walk around a little bit and film the scenery. And randomly a car pulled up to me. A man named EJ asked me to go to a cafe nearby. I don't do this, talk to the camera. I just film my life. As he wanted to talk about his future plans of starting an English school for adults in the nearby city of Gangneung. He's an absolute professional, the master of making connections and making people feel comfortable. I really hope his school does well, and I hope to learn how to meet new people with confidence, just like EJ someday. It seems like every time I get off the beaten path here in Korea, I end up falling in love with a new place. There was something about this beach called 금진해변. It doesn't have anything fancy, no hugely popular hotels, restaurants, or cafes, but it was just incredibly peaceful, the perfect spot to enjoy the sunrise. It's almost like an older beach village slowly turning into a surfing town. But it hasn't really started developing too much, like you see in Gangneung these days up north, where surfing has really taken over. These types of places make me feel happy, with the houses all built a little differently, shining with their own personality. I'm not sure how lively it gets in the summer, but I'll remember it here at Gumjin and hopefully return when the weather is warmer to see it when it's in season. I did a random search on Naver, Korea's Google, for things to do in the area, and this place Mu릉계곡 popped up a few times with some pictures of beautiful nature, so I decided to check it out. There's an entrance fee of 4,000 won for adults, and right when you enter inside, you arrive at a temple called Samwasa, the Temple of Three Harmonies, between humans, nature, and spiritual practice. I could tell immediately that it's more of a temple used for practice than for tourists, but its location among the neighboring valley and cliffs, along with the beautiful morning sun, made for a great spot to start the day. And without any idea where I was going, or water or anything, I suddenly decided to start walking up the trail through the forest. After about 40 minutes or so, I arrived at Sangpokpo, the twin waterfalls, which looks stunning in the winter, literally frozen in time. They aren't the most grand waterfalls I've ever seen or anything, but there's something so special about stumbling upon something like this, especially when you have it all to yourself to just stand there and enjoy. I continued exploring around the area further, found an incredibly sketchy bridge that led to some stairs I thought were about to collapse, and thought for a moment just how grateful I am to live on this beautiful planet, with something to see around every corner, especially here in Korea, where I feel safe enough to walk like this without any preparation, as there are always other people pretty close, and good facilities to accommodate everyone. It was a successful little exploration, and enough to justify a nice meal down in the city, just a 15-minute drive away. I almost felt like I was in a video game, filled with the same apartment blocks everywhere, and the typical franchises you see in just about every city in Korea. I was craving some bulgogi, on the way to a place that looked pretty good, but unfortunately it already closed down. Maybe the local Walmart was affecting business around here. Jokes aside, the neighborhood was aging a bit, but I managed to find another place serving yeontan bulgogi, or bulgogi grilled on charcoal. The people working there were incredibly nice, and that translated directly into the flavor. Very clean, and simply delicious.
이제 불은 아주 약하게 할게요.
네, 감사합니다. And that was how I spent my 2 weeks in mid-January, finishing the trip back to the mountains, to ski one more time before heading back home, as I only get about 2 really solid months a year to ski here. And it being my favorite sport, I want to do it as much as possible every year I can. I just want to say thank you so much for watching the video. To be honest, I've been having a bit of writer's block with this one, but that's only natural, as everything in life comes in waves. Sometimes it's easy, and sometimes not so much. But as always, I hope you're healthy and happy, and have a wonderful day.